We're starting a new series today. We're going to be talking about Outcasts for the next few weeks. And Jesus starts us off from the very beginning of this chapter in Luke that we read. We start off with people who were really outcasts. And it says, now the tax collectors and sinners were coming close to listen to Jesus. And tax collectors and sinners in those days, they would be the people who were outside the company of good people. They would be the people that wouldn't be included. And I don't know that we really can grasp how much tax collectors would be hated in that day. I mean, granted, we don't love the IRS, but these guys are in a totally different universe. Because the way the Roman system was set up, and that's the thing, it's the Roman system. So anybody who works for the Romans is a traitor. You know, it would be like working for the Soviets back in the 80s. That's for those of you that are old enough to remember that. Just a traitor, somebody that was outside the bounds of normal people. And the thing is not only were they traitors, not only were they working for the occupying power, but the way the system was set up, you had to be dishonest to be a tax collector, because the way you made your money was you overcharged. That's the way it was set up. It was set up so that you had to be a dirtbag in order to make any money. And the bigger dirtbag you were, the more money you made. I mean, that's the theological term for these guys. Dirtbags. And so these people are coming to listen to Jesus. So you have that segment of people who everybody else doesn't even want to be around. And then you have sinners, which is kind of a code word for those people who were sexually impure. Those people who had done things that weren't talked about in decent society. And so those people are coming to hear Jesus too. These are the outcasts of the day, the people that nobody wants to associate with. And they're coming to listen to the rabbi. And it's no surprise that they're coming to listen to this rabbi, because listen to what he says. He says, well, let me tell you a story about some sheep. You all know about sheep. Yeah, everybody here knows about sheep. So a guy has 100 sheep. He's out there. Sheep are grazing on the hills of Judea. And one of them gets lost. So what do you think he's going to do? And everybody knows the answer. The answer is you cut your losses, you take the 99 back home, and you keep them safe, because that stupid one doesn't deserve to live anyway. But then Jesus says, no, you know what happens? He leaves the 99 in the wilderness. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my, who cares? Just leave them there. And go and find the one. And put it on your shoulder. He puts it on his shoulders. Carries it home. I mean, this is like over the top ridiculous. And then let's call everybody over to have a party, because I found the dumb sheep. And Jesus says, that is exactly the way God is. God is completely over the top in his love for people. In his love for people that we might consider outcasts. Can you see why these people were coming to listen to Jesus? This was not the standard rabbinic message of the day. The standard rabbinic message of the day was, tax collectors and sinners, they're not making it. When God's wrath comes, they're the first ones that are going to get burned up. That was the standard teaching of the day. And Jesus says, no. Those people that we look down on, those are the ones that God is looking for. And he says, well, let me make the point a little bit clearer. So there's a man who has 2 sons. And it is important that he has 2 sons. We usually just focus on the one son. We focus on the son that takes the money and goes to the far country. But he had 2. He had 2, and it's important that he had 2. But that young guy, he does kind of grab all of our attention. You know, when the boy comes to his dad and says, Dad, why don't you just hurry up and die so I can have my inheritance? Not the most respectful thing to say, is it? But that's essentially what he's saying. He's saying, I can't wait for you to be dead. Give me my share of the inheritance now. And of course, we all know, all of us that are parents, we all know how we would respond in that situation, right? I mean, I would immediately get my checkbook out and write Samuel a check, right? That's what I would do. Not. But that's what this guy does. He says, okay, here you go. It's yours. Do whatever you want. And he goes off and he wastes all the money. He just spends it all. And then he hits rock bottom. He hits complete rock bottom. I mean, there is no lower to sink for a good Jewish boy than taking care of pigs. I mean, for any of us, taking care of the pigs would be bad enough. But for a Jewish boy, pigs are like the nastiest animals on earth, completely unclean in God's eyes. For him to be feeding pigs, it doesn't get any lower. But I like what happens. He comes to himself. He has some realization about what his dad is like. And he says, I'm going to go back. I have my little speech prepared. Father, I've sinned against heaven. I've sinned against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Please let me be one of the hired hands. He heads home. See, he really doesn't have a total clear picture of what his dad is like, does he? He thinks his dad, well, maybe dad will let me back in, but he'll treat me like a hired worker. He doesn't realize how much his dad loves him. But he's going to. He's going to. He heads home, and his dad sees him far off, which says something. I mean, this was no accident that he saw him. I mean, he's been getting up every morning for the last several months, or however long the boy was gone. He's looking on the horizon. He's waiting for that boy to come back. He's hoping, he's praying that he's going to make it home safe. And he sees him come over the top of the hill, and he runs. He runs to greet him. The boy starts with his little speech, Dad, I've sinned against you. And his dad doesn't want to hear it. He's, well, no, listen. Get him the best robe. Get him a ring for his finger. Get him sandals for his feet. He's back. He's my son. He's back in the family. And let's kill that fatted calf and have a big celebration, because that's the only response. That's the only response possible, because he made it back alive. And so the party starts. But remember, there was a man who had 2 sons. The other son is out working in the field. Comes back to the house and hears something going on. And see, I think that's this part of the story is really, this is for us. See, because I know you people. None of you is the prodigal son. None of you took dad's money and spent it in a foreign country. You're the ones that stayed home, worked for the family business, were very responsible, came to church every Sunday. You're the responsible one. So you're like this guy. So he comes back, he hears the party happening, and he's like, what's going on? One of the servants says, well, your brother's back, so we killed the fatted calf. It's party time. It's great. And he's like, no, it's not party time. It's not party time. I'm not going in there. But here's the thing. His dad comes looking for him too. Now, the father doesn't have to go looking for the other son. He could have been like, hey, you want to have a bad attitude? Whatever. You should be happy, but if you don't want to, you can go sulk. Go ahead. But he doesn't. He goes out and he pleads with him. He begs him to come in and celebrate. You see, the dad loves him just as much as he loves the other son. The man had 2 sons, and he loves both of them. So no matter if it's the person who everybody looks at as the outcast, right? The kid who went and wasted all the money, how can you possibly welcome him back? God welcomes him back. Or if you're the person that I tried to do everything right, I tried to be responsible, I tried to do everything, maybe I'm feeling a little resentful. God says, you are my beloved child. Please, come in. Because with God, the generosity just keeps happening. The love just keeps being lavished. That's what these stories tell us. Like the first hymn that we sang. We try to put limits on God's love. We try to say, well, there are some people that are just beyond the pale. And what these stories say to us is, no, there's nobody that's beyond God's love. There's nobody that's beyond redemption. Because God will go out and look for that one that's off in the distance. God will welcome home that one that seemed to waste everything. God will seek out that one lost in self-righteousness. Because God's love is for everyone. Thanks be to God.